All right, this is going to be my 2022 NFL mock draft. Um, I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and with the draft coming up this Thursday, I thought I'd put one out here to give my opinion on where I think the draft's going to go. It's going to be all 32 teams, just the first round. I'm not going to do any trades, even though I do think a lot of teams could trade down. I think the Giants could trade down. I think not Seattle. I think the Jets could be trading number 10 for Deebo Samuel. I think that makes a lot of sense for both teams. I don't know. I think a lot of teams could trade up. I think Seattle could trade up for a quarterback. I think a team like the Saints could trade up for a quarterback, even though I really don't like Jameis Winston this year. I still think they need to draft a quarterback. I think the Steelers could trade up from 20 for a quarterback, or a guy like Sauce Gardner if he falls to like the 7-8 area, because they lost their best corner, in my opinion, in Joe Hayden. Corner's a big need for them there. And that secondary, if Sauce Gardner ends up panning out like me and a lot of other people think, that secondary with Minka and possibly Tyrann Mathieu will be very scary. But I think the number one pick should 100% be Aiden Hutchinson. I know Trayvon Walker has had a lot of talk recently as the number one pick. I think he's the betting favorite now, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't see where you could take Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he's got everything you want in an edge rusher. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. I mean, everything's just in the film. Like, this guy could come in and have a Joey Bosa or a Nick Bosa type of impact straight out of college. I think he's probably better than the latter of those two, Nick Bosa. I think he could be better than both the Bosa brothers, which pains me to say, being a OSU guy. But Aiden Hutchinson should be the number one overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Especially because you go out and they spend all this money, trying to help Trevor Lawrence. But I still, like while doing that, you release Myles Jack, losing key pieces on that defense, and it's not going to help unless you get some back. And I think Aiden Hutchinson is a defense-changing player. And it all starts up front for them. So I think Aiden Hutchinson makes sense there. I think the same thing here. I do think Trayvon Walker goes number 2 here. He's picked up so much hype recently. I mean, he's got the intangibles. Same thing as Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he's big. He gets off the snap fast. He plays a lot faster than he actually is. He's very quick off that edge. He played with a very good Georgia defense this year. Just dominated their opponents. I think Trayvon Walker would be a great pick for the Lions. Houston is interesting. So you're in on Davis Mills if you're the Texans, which I think is a great idea. I think Davis Mills was the second best rookie quarterback last year behind Mac Jones. So you're building behind Davis Mills, and you have Laramie Tunsil. So why not go out and get this bookend tackle, okay? And I think Ikem Ekwonu is the best tackle in the class by far. He is a monster up front. He's got great size. He's super athletic. He can do anything you want him to. He can slide into guard if you need him there. I think that's funny. It says needs every position for the Texans. I just think that makes the most sense for them. And I think it's the same here. This pick just makes the most sense for the Jets. They need corner help. I know they had some solid corner play near the end of the season last year, but they were not very good at all. They didn't show much promise in that secondary. You lose Marcus May. You bring in Jordan Whitehead, who's a solid safety, but Jordan Whitehead's used to playing with a lot of good corners. They had 3 corner number 1s and 2s down there in Tampa Bay. And I think They need to go corner here. I think the best corner in the class is Ahmad Gardner, or Sauce Gardner. Never allowed a touchdown in college. Or I'm pretty sure not in high school either, but in college, that's very, very, very impressive. You don't see that much. Even some of the best corners coming at Jalen Ramsey, like in recent years, Jeff Okudah, who hasn't panned out in the NFL, but still, you just don't see guys like that not giving up touchdowns. I think he's locked down. He's exactly what that Jets defense needs. The Jets defense have a defensive minded head coach. I think this pick would make a lot of sense for them. I also think they should think about Derek Stingley, but he's coming off an injury. It's a way riskier pick. I don't really like how they have Stingley above Gardner here. I think Gardner is just better. But Stingley, I think if they went there, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they could go Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Kyle Hamilton is someone who they should take if they weren't at number 4. If Hamilton falls to number 10, that's perfect for them. If Kyle Hamilton is a Swiss Army knife, he can do anything at safety. He is Isaiah Simmons if Isaiah Simmons was just better coming out of college. He is a better Isaiah Simmons. He's faster. He plays zones better. He is more of a cover guy than Isaiah Simmons ever was at Clemson. But Ahmad Gardner just makes the most sense for the Jets. My Giants, this is where it gets tough. Because you don't think that the Panthers will take Thibodeau. I don't think edge is their biggest concern. But you do think they will take offensive tackle. So you want the guy that you think will be the best fit for you. That obviously they don't want the Panthers taking. I think Evan Neal out of Alabama is amazing. I think he is awesome. He is Cam Robinson. If Cam Robinson was a bajillion times better, he is huge. He is strong. He's a great pass blocker and run blocker. I think he would fit the Giants perfect. And then that for the Giants, if you're looking at it, you have Andrew Thomas, who is a stud. I will fight that till the day I die. Andrew Thomas was a stud last year, and you can move him to right tackle. You can move either of these guys to right tackle. They're both true left tackles. Either of these guys will play right tackle, and you will be set. Daniel Jones will be perfect on both of his sides. So I think Evan Neal makes the most sense here. The one thing that worries me is, as a Giants fan, if it's like this, a team trading up, if they're that high on Kayvon Thibodeau. I am very high on Kayvon Thibodeau, but we're not going to be doing trades in this mock draft. It's just going to be clear cut. But if you're the Panthers and you want extra assets, then trade down for someone that wants either a quarterback or Kayvon Thibodeau. All right, just had some technical difficulties. Carolina, I think it's very obvious who this should be. Sam Darnold is absolute trash. He is terrible. He somehow fooled people into thinking he was a good quarterback at the start of the year. If you really watched those games, he was nothing special. He's a game manager. He's not going to do anything for you. So the exact opposite of what Malik Willis is. Malik Willis is a guy I've compared to guys like a stretch of Patrick Mahomes, a guy like Trey Lance, where it's this project guy that just has such raw talent and could be so good if he just puts it together. And I think you take that risk. I think that, Sam Darnold's not your guy. You haven't had luck drafting. There was that video of Matt Rule that came out recently. He had zero interest in Justin Fields. Does not make any sense to me. I think last year they should have taken a quarterback. Justin Fields fell right into their lap, and they just didn't want him. I think Malik Willis makes a lot of sense here at 6. If you don't want him, trade down. But, again, we're not doing trades here. And then Kayvon Thibodeau falls right into the Giants' lap. Athletic freak, amazing off the snap, just a pure athlete. He'll do everything for you. Look at that. He's right there. Just undercuts the tackle, gets right past that guard that's going to try to help him, and gets the quarterback. Giants need a guy that'll get to the quarterback. You guys got guys that are good up front for the Giants. You know, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Azeez Ojulari, Quincy Roche had some solid games last year. But you don't really have that game changer on defense like a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau could be. You know, Giants releasing Logan Ryan, losing Jabril Peppers. I think Kyle Hamilton makes some sense here, but taking a safety inside the top 10 doesn't really make a lot of sense to me with the amount of holes on this team. And I think there's another good safety from Notre Dame on the Giants roster already, Julian Love. I think Julian Love can step in for that safety spot for the Giants at that free safety spot and be at least a solid starter for a full year. He's never got the chance to be a full starter, so I think that this will be a good opportunity for him. Kayvon Thibodeau makes the most sense here for me. Atlanta has a lot of options here. I really want to say they go edge, but with the top 3 guys off, a lot of earlier mock drafts that I had been doing just on my own time had Trayvon Walker going there. I think it made a lot of sense. You know, Georgia, Atlanta. But obviously he's not there. He goes to the Lions at 2 here. I think Calvin Ridley being out a year, you know, you have Marcus Mariota. I don't think you need to take a quarterback here. None of them are really worth it at this spot. I don't think any of these guys are really going to make Atlanta, you know, bend over backwards. I think Malik Willis would be good for them if a team did trade up for someone like if Sauce Gardner falls and they want him at 6 if the Giants don't take him. But this is a tough spot. You take Kyle Pitts last year, you trade away Matt Ryan, you don't have Calvin Ridley for a year. It'd be easy to just say, you know, Jameson Williams, or Garrett Wilson, or Drake London, or Chris Olave. There's so many good receivers in this class. It's so deep. You do not need to reach here at 8. I don't think you need to take a safety in the top 10. I just don't think that makes sense for the Falcons here. They have so many holes. Offensive tackle, I mean, you're okay up there with, what's his name, McGarry and Jake Matthews. They just signed Jake Matthews to a contract extension, So this is really just who do they value the most here. And I think this is a tough one. This is a tough one because I want to say Karlaftis. Karlaftis he's okay. He's not my favorite. I don't think he should be a top 10 pick. I think he should more be in the, 15 to 20 range for a team like that. But I think Karlaftis makes the, or is it Karlaftis? I'm not sure. I think it just makes the most sense for them at, what is this? Pick 8. So we'll take Karlaftis. Seattle. This is another tough one. I think they need to go quarterback. You can't really have that sort of quarterback room. Drew Lock is a terrible quarterback. He's got some hype surrounding him off of a few solid games. Broncos fans hyped him up to try to make themselves feel better for having a bad season last year when they were so hyped up. Same as my Giants. Hyped up, bad season. But I think Kenny Pickett is the best out of these remaining quarterbacks. Obviously, PFF does not agree with me, but Kenny Pickett, he's mobile. He's kind of, I want to say coming out of college, Daniel Jones is a good comparison to him. They say he's the most NFL-ready quarterback, which isn't really something you want. Like, it's okay to be a NFL-ready quarterback, but if I'm taking a quarterback in the first round, I just want raw talent. I don't need a game manager that can come in and go 15 for 25 for 2 touchdowns and 1 interceptions and win a game by 1 point or lose it by 6 points. I want someone that will change the game for me. I want a Russell Wilson. I want a Patrick Mahomes. I want a Lamar Jackson. I want even a guy like Trey Lance, coming out of last year's draft. Someone that can just make something out of nothing. But I do think they get desperate here for a quarterback. I think Kenny Pickett is the best available from these guys. And that could be another, a trade down spot, or they could trade up with a team like the Giants at 5, the Jets at 4, the Panthers at 6 if they really, really, really like Malik Willis, which I think they do. I really think they do, and I don't think that Baker Mayfield ends up going to Seattle. I really think Baker Mayfield's going to stay in Cleveland for the first half of the season. I think he should. I think it makes the most sense for Baker Mayfield to play half the year if Deshaun Watson does get suspended, which I do think he will, get suspended and prove his worth to some of these teams. He's healthy. Just prove what he can do. Back up all this talk he's had over the offseason. I think he's doing a lot of pouting right now. I think he needs to bide his time and just play even a few games just to prove that you're still worth it. Prove that you're still a starting quarterback in this league. The Jets at 10, it's hard to pass up on Charles Cross. I think he is the worst out of a really, really, really good class of tackles. He kind of reminds me of the Jedrick Wills from 2 years ago's draft. I think he is a good tackle. I don't think he's the best tackle. I don't think he's more of an experiment. He's a lot of raw talent. That's impressive. Didn't allow a single pressure on 66 pass blocking snaps versus Alabama. Very impressive. The Jets, you just drafted a quarterback. You have some solid wide receivers. Protect your guy, Protect your guy. You have one solid tackle in Mekhi Becton, who did not play a lot last year, but he was a beast his rookie year. So take that other bookend tackle. You need one. Washington. This is really interesting. There's rumors that Terry McLaurin wants out. There are rumors that he won't play until he gets a new contract. I don't think they go quarterback here. I think Carson Wentz is a solid enough quarterback to use. I don't want to say as a bridge quarterback, but I think he's kind of like I was talking about earlier, a game manager. He used to be one of those quarterbacks that can go in and win you a football game just because of his raw talent. But I think now after the injuries, he's settled down a little bit. I think he's more of a guy that'll win you 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, maybe have you competing for a playoff spot, but he's nothing special. You took a chance on Jamin Davis last year in the first round. Didn't really work out. This is a tough pick, and I really hate to see him go here to this team, but they need receiver. Curtis Samuel was not what they wanted last year. Adam Humphries is bad. I think both of the Ohio State wide receivers make a lot of sense here. I think Garrett Wilson just frees you up a lot more, over the top. He's real. I don't think he had a great combine. He is so fast. He is so fast. He can take the top off of defense. He would be the perfect complement to Terry McLaurin, and he would give Carson Wentz 2 solid outside receivers to work with. And then you free up more room with Curtis Samuel, playing around him a little bit more. You already have a solid, okay offensive line. A solid running back. Antonio Gibson is a solid running back. So you would have a solid starting offense. Not a top 10 offense, but maybe a top 17 offense. Minnesota. You need corner. I think Pat Pete is coming back, but Pat Pete is not that good. You need corner. You need linebacker. I think Stingley makes a lot of sense here. I think Houston would love to grab Stingley at 13, but I think Stingley just makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of ways this could go. I mean, could they reach on a guy? Zion Johnson's a really, really good guard out of Boston College. I think I'm going to go Devin Lloyd. I think adding a linebacker next to Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr is way past his prime. You don't really have any other guys. The defense was weak last year, the weakest defense you've seen in a while. I think Devin Lloyd's a good cover linebacker. He does a little bit of everything. I think he makes a lot of sense. This is a tough pick. This is a really tough pick for me. But we're going to go Devin Lloyd. And then, like I said, they would love to grab Stingley at 13. I think Stingley makes a lot of sense at 13. We already talked about him. The Ravens, I think they go receiver. I think they should go Chris Olave. Very good receiver. Again, very fast, coming out of a very good wide receiver room, crowded with talent. I don't even think the best receiver from that receiver room is in this draft this year. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba will come out and be a top 10 pick next year. Very talented receiver class for Ohio State the last year. Philly on the clock. Offensive line is really good. Your secondary is solid. You have terrible luck drafting receivers. Terrible luck. I think you go Jamison Williams here. He's the safest pick for you at wide receiver. He's coming off an injury, but he's on schedule. His rehab is going good last time I heard or saw. I think Jamison Williams is an outstanding receiver. He could be the best receiver in this class if it wasn't for the injury. So we're going to take... And they need receiver. Rieger is terrible. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside moved to tight end. Travis Fulgham is out of the mix. I really like Quez Watkins. I think Quez Watkins... Jalen Hurts just missed him on a lot of throws, where he's wide open. I think Quez Watkins could have been an 1,000-yard receiver last year if it wasn't for so many overthrows, underthrows, just bad overall throws from Jalen Hurts. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. I just don't see why you would pass up on a guy like Jamison Williams, especially when you have another pick coming up at 18 to address another position in need, which is going to be linebacker. New Orleans. Did not mean to press offensive tackle. You lost to Ron Armstead. That sucks. You lost Marcus Williams. That sucks. I do think Tyrann Mathieu is going to end up with the New Orleans Saints. I think it makes way too much sense. That being said, you really need an offensive tackle. I think Trevor Penning is a guy that really is going to sneak into the first round. I think it's going to be a lot like last year where, he may not be a top 16 talent, but just the position that he plays, they need very badly. Trevor Penning is a monster, okay? He's gritty, he's tough, he works hard. He's a monster. 6'7", great size, good blocker, good run blocker. I think this makes a lot of sense for New Orleans. You have Jameis Winston. I'm really high on Jameis Winston this year, so take Trevor Penning, protect him. You got Michael Thomas coming back. You don't need to worry about wide receiver too much. You still have Alvin Kamara. The rest of your offensive line is amazing. It's fantastic. You have a solid defense still, even with losing some guys. I think Trevor Penning makes a lot of sense here. All right. San Diego. Los Angeles. You beefed up the defense. Guys obviously like Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, even guys under the radar like Sebastian Joseph Day, very solid nose tackle. Austin Johnson, another solid nose tackle. I think you grab Jordan Davis, who is an absolute monster of a human being, 6'3", 341. He's fast. If you saw him run his comm, I didn't believe it. He is so fast for his size. He moves quick. He's just a huge body, very solid on a very solid Georgia defense. I think this makes too much sense for them. Interior defensive line was their biggest problem last year. They could not stop the run. You saw it in the game against Las Vegas that knocked the Chargers out of the playoffs. They could not stop Josh Jacobs and that bad offensive line. The Raiders have a really bad offensive line, and they were just dominating the Chargers. So Jordan Davis, you beef it up more than you already have. And here's where Nakobe Dean goes. Linebackers I don't really think they need to be drafted top 20 unless they're like a Devin White. Nakobe Dean is not Devin White. Nakobe Dean is a very, very solid linebacker, though. Really good in coverage. He's a leader. I'm sure he'll be a captain within his first 2 years. A very, very solid linebacker to go to the Eagles there. New Orleans again. Drake London here, I think makes a lot of sense. His size, speed, he reminds a lot of people of DK Metcalf. I don't really see him like that. I see him more like a Michael Pittman Jr. type of guy, but faster. obviously the comparison, they went to the same college. But I think a guy like Michael Pittman Jr., and Michael Pittman Jr. is a very good receiver, don't get me wrong. I think Drake London makes a lot of sense here for New Orleans. Kyle Hamilton is who I'm going to have the Steelers picking up. I think they do end up missing out on Tyrann Mathieu, and they know that. I'm sure they already know that now. So a guy like Kyle Hamilton just laying there at 20, I think just makes way too much sense for them not to do. Kyle Hamilton is great. He's great on the ball. He's great off the ball. He can do anything Isaiah Simmons can, except maybe rush the passer, but Isaiah Simmons hasn't done much of that in the NFL anyway. Obviously, Isaiah Simmons was a very good pass rusher in college at Clemson, but hasn't really lined up there much in current day NFL. I think Kyle Hamilton is the perfect fit next to a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think he makes way too much sense here for the Steelers if he falls to 20. I don't think he'll fall to 20, but these are just picks that, I would like. I think fit the team's the best, and Kyle Hamilton goes there at 20. New England. You have a good quarterback. Mac Jones is a solid quarterback. He's not a game changer, but in Bill Belichick's scheme, I think he is the perfect quarterback for them. You take Christian Barmore last year. You lose out on J.C. Jackson. You still have okay corners. Trent McDuffie is a great corner. I don't think he needs to be this far up. I honestly, personally, would rather have Andrew Booth than him, but I don't know if the NFL is going to look at him the same way. But Trent McDuffie here to the Patriots, I think you get a very solid corner there at 21. The Packers, I think this could go a multitude of ways, but I think it needs to go wide receiver. Obviously, you would like to have one of the better guys, Williams, London, Olave, Garrett Wilson, a guy like that. But you're not going to be complaining with Treylon Burks still there. Treylon Burks has gotten a lot of hype recently. I think Treylon Burks is a great receiver. I think he fits Aaron Rodgers very well. Losing Devontae Adams, obviously, you're missing out on the best receiver in the league. So you need to do something to replace that, and I think Treylon Burks there makes a lot of sense. The Cardinals. I think Zion Johnson here makes a lot of sense. You have Rodney Hudson. I like Tyler Linderbaum as a pure center. I don't really like him at guard. I don't think he's big enough to really, he's big, but I don't think he's big enough to be a guard. I don't think he would make that transition very well. He's very athletic. I think he is a great center, but I would like him at center. I think they're going to be looking for a more pure guard, a guy that's played guard his entire college career, in Zion Johnson. Big kid, great blocker. Very versatile, can slide outside, can slide inside if you need him. Rodney Hudson is getting older. So I think Zion Johnson there for the Cardinals makes a lot of sense. And Tyler Linderbaum, sadly, I love Tyler Linderbaum. Very, very high on him. Going to the Cowboys, they need a center. Their offensive line play was not good last year. A lot of injuries. Travis Frederick retired a few years ago. That was a big hit. Tyler Linderbaum slides in at that center spot and is just the perfect addition to that Cowboys offensive line. You can run behind him. He's great on screens because of how athletic he is. He's very fast. I think Tyler Linderbaum makes a lot of sense there for the Cowboys. Buffalo. I think Devontae Wyatt makes a lot of sense here. Pairing him up with a guy like Ed Oliver. You got guys like Gregory Rousseau and some older guys like Jerry Hughes. I don't know if he's still there, but Jerry Hughes, a solid defensive line, nothing special. I think Devontae Wyatt makes a lot of sense. He's probably the better of those two Georgia defensive tackles. I just think the fit with Jordan Davis going to the Chargers makes a lot of sense. I don't think Devontae Wyatt makes as much sense as going to Los Angeles, as Jordan Davis did. But Devontae Wyatt would be a great addition to that Buffalo Bills defense. to the Titans here at 26. I think offensive line is a need. I think they released Roger Saffold in the offseason. They're very solid at offensive line, but I think with Derrick Henry suffering an injury last season that shut him down for most of the year until the playoffs, I think they'll kind of try to bolster up that offensive line for them, and I think Kenyon Green might be the best guard in the class. I mean, I gave the Cardinals Zion Johnson just because I think that he fits more there. I'd say Kenyon Green's probably the best interior offensive lineman in the class outside of Tyler Linderbaum, who's very good. So take Kenyon Green here for Tennessee at 26. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady's coming back. That kind of limits their need at quarterback. You got Godwin back. Obviously, Evans is coming back. Gronk is in the air, but I think you don't take tight end here first round anyway. So that kind of leaves them to have a freedom on what they want to take. I think with JPP not returning so far, I think edge is very important, and I think Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State here makes a lot of sense. Apparently, he could climb some draft boards. I'm not a huge fan of his. I think there's a lot of edge players better than him in this class. But at 27 here, that's good value for Tampa Bay. Green Bay again. I think they still could go receiver here. I think their secondary looks great. They could go linebacker here if one of the top linebackers are still available, but they're not. This is a tough pick. They could use edge. Preston Smith is a solid pass rusher. They got rid of Zadarius Smith. And Rashawn Gary is a solid edge player. I wouldn't really call him a true edge rusher, but he is a solid edge. I think they could use some speed off the edge, and Nick Benito is very fast coming off the edge. He's kind of flexible too, so I think Nick Benito would be a good pick here for Green Bay. Kansas City, you got back-to-back picks. You need a receiver. Sky Moore is sitting there waiting. So is George Pickens, but I do like what Sky Moore brings to the table. He's very shifty, just a guy that'll help open up that offense for Kansas City with them losing Tyreek Hill. They brought in Equanimeous St. Brown, who's a solid player, a good wide receiver 3. And I think Mahomes will probably let him be near an 1,000-yard receiver if he's getting most of the targets. You have Juju. Juju, I really like Juju in the slot, not much as an outside guy. So we'll take Sky Moore here for Kansas City. And I think with their next pick, this should be very easy for them. Andrew Booth Jr. is a very solid corner out of Clemson. He's very physical. He could play safety in the NFL if he bulks up a little bit, I think. Very good corner here that they can snag at 30. Now, the Bengals had a very, very good offseason. There's not really any glaring holes on the team. You have a very, very solid secondary. You have a really good receiver group. You do lose Tyler Eifert, which does suck, but I don't think there's that number one tight end here in this class that you can really pick out and say he's going to be our guy, especially in the first round. So I think this will probably just be best player available for them. And PFF is telling me that is Lewis Klein, but I don't think he really fits for them. I never know how to say this guy's name. Kair Alam out of Florida is a very solid player. I think I wouldn't have him above Booth, but I do think Booth could sneak up to number 20. I have Hamilton falling that far, which I don't know if he will in real life. I like all the picks that I've made, and that just happened to play out as Kyle Hamilton falling to 20. I think a more realistic spot for Kyle Hamilton would be 10 or 13. which would then shift. Booth could go 20 to Pittsburgh and Alam to Kansas City, but I'm going to have Alam going to Cincinnati here. Now back to Detroit. So Detroit got Trayvon Walker earlier in the draft, who's a very, very good player. And now you look at their team. You still have Jared Goff. Not a franchise quarterback. Not even close. A good bridge quarterback. A guy that'll win you some games. I think... excuse me. If you're going to go quarterback, you should go it at the top of this first round. You do have another pick. It could be either of these, but just for the video's sake, I'm going to have them taking Desmond Ridder at the top of the first round, and that will end my 2022 first-round mock draft. This isn't 100% correct. There's no chance, but there's always surprises. I think this is a solid mock draft. I think I've got a good, top 5. I think that this top 5, maybe even top 7 could go exactly, but once it hits 8, this just kind of veers into what I think could happen. And obviously trades happen too, so you can't really predict that. But that's just my take on what's going to happen in the 2020 NFL Draft Thursday night. I will be anxiously watching as a Giants fan to see if Mr. Joe Shane will ruin our future. Ruin, or make me very excited for the future. It's kind of a coin toss at this point. But that's going to be all for this one, and I will see you guys later.